We are live. Dragon here once again, and incredibly lucky to be joined by the wonderful Arne Venema.
Thanks for having me on.
You should need really no introduction to anyone watching my channel, because I think I've covered so many releases that you are a huge part of.
Yes.
Finally, we're getting a chance to actually sit down together and talk about a couple of them, which is cool.
Yeah, well, thanks for pronouncing my name correctly. First of all, that is something I still every now and again I like to. I'm a big fan of looking at smaller YouTube channels who are just starting out, and I always give them the hey man, keep going and stuff like that. There's only one little thing: it's pronounced Arne Venema, and they always go But it's my goal in life is to get people to pronounce my name correctly. So thanks so much for doing so.
My pleasure. I think at this point would be a rookie mistake for me. I think so.
Oh, well, nonetheless.
So, dude, what's been happening today? It's 10 o'clock with you in Hong Kong.
Yes. It's been an interesting day. Been working on some edits. We're doing a project with Mixmag Asia right now. Right. So we're covering synthesizer companies across Asia. So we're doing that. We recorded an audio commentary very recently, but as normal, I cannot speak about this. But it's for a new company who we have not worked with before. There's a few new companies, I think, in the next month or so. People should start hearing about them. But yeah, Mike and I have started working with a lot of new companies now.
Have both you in triple figures now. Have you broken the 100 mark?
We think so. So here's the thing. I was keeping tally of it, and I realized 3 weeks ago I wasn't keeping tally anymore, because I think last week we recorded 3 audio commentaries. So and every now and again that will happen, it's our big joy is we started doing audio commentaries for Japanese films, because we watch tons of Japanese films. Like the first one that's been announced is Party 7 for Third Window. And they were, and I love that movie, man. And when I saw it was there, it's like, hey, man, if you ever need an audio commentary for this, I'll get back to you. And he came back to us. He was so polite. He was so nice. And he goes, you guys want to do Party 7? I was like, you don't have to ask me more than once. I'll do that right away. And since then, we've done more Japanese audio commentaries, because we're such fans of so much cinema. So if you ask what I've done today, I've basically been editing. Yesterday with an audio commentary. Yesterday my house almost burnt down because someone's burning effigies on his balcony, and he put it in the main trash area. And as I came home from dinner, there was a lot of smoke on our balcony, and I went down. I looked in the main trash area, and the whole place was on fire. So I called the fire department. I warned everybody in the building, and that's what I did yesterday. So if people can see my eyes, I don't know if this is also on video, but they're a little bludgeoned, and that's because of the smoke. But everybody got away free, and I was very happy.
And in Hong Kong, that's no small thing, because I think regulations there and the way that those alleys are stacked, that could have gone bad.
Yeah. That's so true. I mean, look, there's a lot of fire departments in Hong Kong because of that, and they were here in 5 minutes. I was super impressed. Like, I'll send you a photo later on, but it was bananas. But Hong Kong Fire Department, cheers to them, because I would have lost my Bluray collection and all my beautiful instruments and everything I owned had they not gotten here. But yeah, so that's what my week's been like. So recording audio commentaries, working on short documentaries for people, organizing more for Blu-ray labels, and avoiding a fiery death.
It's made my day hearing that a connection has been made between you and Third Window, because Third Window, absolutely one of the labels that doesn't get spoken about enough. I think to a lot of the newer collectors, they know Eureka, they know 88 Films, they know Arrow, but Third Window for some reason don't always get championed as much, and they're so cool for putting out really stuff that no one else does.
And I'd like to say, it's not that Eureka or anything are not, but like sometimes when you meet people, they approach you, it's a bit like they were super cordial, super friendly. It was delightful working with them as well.
Was Adam?
Yes, correct. Yes, Adam was.
He kind of a one-man show, really.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I wasn't 100% sure, but if they say that is the case, but he contacted us. Yeah. What a good dude, man! And like, he really loves his movies too. And he's just like, yeah, like, what do you do? I was like, cool. It was so simple. It was so fun, and it was great. And and I love that when people are friendly, kind, and cordial. It goes a long way. And I think Mike will say the same. So. It's really good.
That's cool, because I think they've usually commentaries for them. A lot of Tom Mes stuff, who's I think is also fellow Dutchman.
Tom Mes is Dutch. I have not met him, bizarrely, but people keep. He's like, every now and again in my life, there's someone who goes, oh, you know this person. I go, No, like, and everybody just assumes I know who he is because we're both Dutch. I don't know if he's got the same his way. I think he's more like, because I've got his book that he wrote about Takashi Miike as well, and all that stuff. And I've read his stuff, and I think it's fantastic. And I believe he's in Tokyo. And I do go to Tokyo. I've got to go shoot in Tokyo in a few months, and I just like to go down there anyway because Japan is freaking cool. And it's one of those people that I'm like, can someone put me in touch with this guy? Like, what? Like, you know, I'd love to get him on my radio show if he ever came to Hong Kong. That'd be fantastic. So, yeah,
Same. I'd love to get him on the channel. Tom Mez, if you're somehow watching this, get in touch with Arne, and please get in touch with me. Both of us would love to speak to you. So, good.
Ja, kom maar, Tom Mez. Het is geweldig. Kom maar, jongen. That's what I'm in Dutch. So, yeah.
So we shall jump in because I think pretty soon, today is about the 12th of May, but on the 22nd of May, we are getting the
Hopping Mad.
Yeah. So Mr. Vampire parts 2, 3, 4, and Vampire v Vampire.
Yeah, exactly.
You and Big Mike done commentaries on 3 and 4? If I'm
not 3 and 4. Yeah, no. Really, I like those movies, man. I saw out of because they kind of gave them to us. Like, I think some other people did audio commentaries for 2 and Vampire versus Vampire, and Mike and I did 3 and 4, and I really like 3 and 4 of the bunch. I like Mr. Vampire 1, Mr. Vampire 3, Mr. Vampire 4 the best. So when they're like, you want to do that, I was like, ha, good, awesome.
I don't think I've ever seen 4. I think I've definitely seen 1 to 3. But
so
4, Vampire v Vampire, I don't think I have.
Yeah, no. Part 4 is it's every now and again there's no actual term for it. But I like to call it the Hong Kong fold, which is when you get. I've mentioned this in audio commentaries, but I also call it that to Mike. Every now and again, you get a Hong Kong movie, like Once Upon a Time in China is a bit like it. Like you get like a movie happening, and then halfway through it becomes a totally different movie, and then all of a sudden you're following up, and you're like, what? Like, you know, they kind of match up, and sometimes even a different cinematographers, like, you know, Once Upon a Time in China, whatever. And then, like, that movie does that. It starts off as, like, a bickering neighbor film, and all of a sudden it goes into, like, vampires and stuff like that. And there's some great cinematography and everything else. Lam Ting-ying, unfortunately, is not in Mr. Vampire Part 4, but it's still, like, it's a fun vampire flick, you know, and it works. And we did 2 documentaries on that box set. And one of the documentaries we actually interviewed, because when they were making those movies, especially the early ones, there was Taoist priests involved advising those films. And we got in touch with somebody who represented those Taoist priests, or their like little, how would you say? I don't know what the English word. I basically would be like their circle of like priests that they have, which are only recognized circle priests in Hong Kong. We actually managed to get a hold of somebody representing those guys and ask them about how they advise the movie and everything else. So that's what one of the documentaries is about. And also he explains the mechanics of the Mr. Vampire world and how that works, like according to what they said, and some of the things they go, that's not true, or that's just for the movie. And that's what one of the documentaries is about. And yeah, and the other documentary kind of looks at how Hong Kong pop culture affected Mr. Vampire and how Mr. Vampire films have affected Hong Kong pop culture since then. So I'm very much looking forward to that release coming out.
Because it's weird. I think I've not been to Hong Kong nearly enough. I got married in Hong Kong, so it's a city that's...
Oh, congrats!
Thank you.
Is your wife from Hong Kong, or...?
Close to. She's from Canton province, so just literally...
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Guangzhou and stuff like that.
And absolutely adore Hong Kong. And one of the things that I was kind of pretty struck by when I was there was how much it's still rooted in a degree of mysticism. Although the city still seems like it's kind of very and kind of super business-minded, but you go under a bridge and there's still old ladies there who'll curse you for
with the shoes, yeah. No, with the shoes and all that stuff. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Well, you can have lawyers and doctors and... You know, it's a little less now. The newer generation believes in a little less, but you still have people like, you know, who genuinely believe in like ghosts and everything else, and people still burn effigies all over the places I experienced yesterday. But people still, the entire apartment building, and then you know, that stuff is still there, but Hong Kong's been interesting, in which it's always had some sort of interesting relationship with the past and present, and with its lineage of like a British colony and like, you know, the Chinese elements of it as well. So yeah, it is quite interesting how that works. So Yeah, I've got some other stuff coming out about it, like that kind of talks about it as well, but I can't talk about it now. But I'm starting to work in a different medium as well, which will explore that too. So but yeah, it's always fascinated me. So when we did the Mr. Vampire box set, I was on that stuff like so fast. I was like, I got 2 ideas for documentaries. Eureka, like, and they kindly said, okay, what's the idea? And I pitched them and said, go make that. And I was like, awesome. So yeah, big high five to Jacob for allowing us to do that. So that was really fun. I've
been really loving the work that they have been commissioning you to do, because the stuff that was on Super Cup as well.
Oh yeah.
Super Cup box, which you did like a little location featurette, and also the kind of feature on Jackie Chan video games, which was awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know existed. I knew about Spartan X and that kind of connection back to the kind of that old original Kung Fu game, but beyond that, I certainly didn't know there was a Mortal Kombat-esque hyper violent.
I can't believe that happened, to be honest. Like can you imagine? He did not sign up for that. I'll guarantee you that. Like, there was a story about that, because a company approached us saying, oh, would they like to put out those games again? So we talked to some people, and the answer basically was like, no. So it was kind of clear that there's like let's just say they made it clear in kind motion that was not of interest at the time. So it was doing those videos was really fun. Like Thorsten was very, very cordial. He was, we spoke to him, and he had a good memory, which is fantastic, because sometimes people don't remember everything. He remembered everything. I have to give high five. Mike obviously was involved in it, but I got to high five to Matt Blaze, who did the graphics. He works on all the CFK graphics, like the motion graphics stuff. He did the arcade machines and that and everything else, and he did it all by himself, man. The CGI stuff. Okay. So he's a big member of our CFK crew, and then Chris Giblin worked on that as well, who helped shoot the documentary. I directed and operated one camera. He operated the second. And then the location videos, he shot that, and I was in front of camera. It's kind of like, okay, put the camera there. What you don't see in the location video are 2 things, though. One, I am burnt to a crisp ball making that video. We burnt. So the first location we shot was the playground. And going up to the playground, usually, you go to a certain area and you go up the steps and everything else. And if you don't go up those steps, you have to walk all the way around a massive hill, and there's no cabs around there and everything else. So and it was like 37 degrees that day. And we had this really heavy camera, because we had this Canon cinema camera with us, and like the Thomas Ninja and all the tripods and everything else, and we carried that all the way up that hill, and then I had to go present it. And I had a second T-shirt with me, so I had two T-shirts. They're identical, but you sweat through one, so you just like change T-shirts halfway through the day. And we shot that first area, which was basically the playground and everything. I was so burnt to a crisp after that. It was crazy. So then we went off after that, and because we didn't shoot everything in order, and we shot, I think, the courtroom and area, and that place just started raining like hell. And then after that, it started so basically we have to run in, and you could see some water drops at some point, and we have to run in. And then we shot the part where we went to around Wan Chai, where Jackie Chan runs across the road, and he has a fight in the coffee shop. And at one point, he was like, okay, I'll try and do that. And I run across the street, and that van very nearly hit me that was coming across there, because we were trying to stop the van, and it just went through. And if you look at the video, it literally goes right behind me. I'm like, holy shit. And I just continue and I go, all right, that's it. And I just walk off. That was all done in one take. I was like, I'm not doing that again.
That's very a police story feature, though. I think to kind of have a degree of.
Oh yeah. But we asked some dude. We were trying to get people to stop, but one guy just didn't listen. He went straight through, and that truck, literally, that van almost hits me, which is kind of appropriate because in the movie, the same thing happens. So, but at the moment, I was like, holy shit. So
I find it insanely geeky. But how do you find filming? Because when I was in Hong Kong, I didn't do anything for work, but was certainly taking an awful lot of pictures. And literally, the second that you would take the camera out, boom, the whole front of the camera lens would be just completely condensation because it's so.
We have tricks. We have all sorts of tricks for that. We have special bags. We put them in and everything else so that they don't there's no condensation on there. You basically make sure that we take the cameras outside beforehand before you mount them and everything else, and then if you take it from an aircon situation into the outdoors, that doesn't work. So we literally have the camera outside for a while and everything else. So it's just exchange of hot and cold. So that's the main thing. And we have bags to put it in as well that it doesn't and we have wipes of the camera and all that stuff. But we have, it's just one of those things of living in Hong Kong. The main issue with Hong Kong is the noise. So, but we have very good lapel mics, and I know a bit about EQing and filtering and everything else to get the sound sounding good. So
because that's a huge reason why so many Hong Kong movies were shot not with sync sound.
Well,
it was impossible, wasn't it?
I'll tell you a funny story about that. There's first of all, they weren't shot with sync sound because they were shooting them quickly and everything else. That was part of the reason, also because it's noisy. The other reason is that back in the day when they were shooting 400 films, and numerous directors have told me about this, especially Godfrey Ho, I guess we'll talk about later on, is that if you had the camera facing you, and there we go. If you had the camera facing you and you tilted the camera even like that, there was another, like to the left or the right, there was another movie set like right there. So there's two movies like basically shooting next to each other in popular places. Now, if you look at a film like, Yes, Madam or whatever in Tim Sa Choi East, that is a really popular location to shoot in. So I guarantee you, if someone was shooting in TST East, just around the corner, there'd be another film crew shooting. So if you would have even had sound going, you had the two film crews maybe even like crossing over their dialogue and everything else, or like flowing shit up or whatever. So that is another reason that was happening as well. So just convenience of not like crossing over into like from one film into the other. And that happened quite often. People don't realize that because you make 400 movies a year in such a small place. It's going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah.
True. Yeah.
So
cool.
It's something people don't think about much, but yeah, it's an interesting little tidbit I always hear about.
And,
so
and
cool.
you mentioned Godfrey Ho there, so we should jump back in time a little bit. Because tell me, you studied under Godfrey Ho in Hong Kong.
Yeah, so I got my first degree in Amsterdam. I got my degree in marketing and basically like everything to do with the psychology of marketing and things like that. So, what drives people to purchase things, why they like things, everything else. And after that, I wanted to go to film school. Now, if you dig back far enough, you can find... At the time in the Netherlands, there was something called MTV, obviously. But then on the side of it, there was something called The Box, which handled all MTV's, like... Because MTV's going through that weird period where, like, it was still music, but there was some reality TV starting to come in there, and it became more media television. And then a separate channel in the Netherlands called The Box. And The Box is where their interviews went up. So if you dig back on Dutch social media and things like that, you can find a very young me at, like, age 23 or something like that, doing interviews in Dutch, because I ran a film festival down there showing Asian films, and we actually got the licenses to show films from like Japan. I showed Shinya Tsukamoto's A Snake in June. We showed Beast Cops. We showed like all those kind of movies at that film festival, and that kind of made me go, okay, this is really great. And I shot a little promo video for that film festival that I sent into film school in Hong Kong, because I was like, you know what, I want to go to film school in Hong Kong, because we're always going to Asia almost every year, because a lot of my family, even though they're ethnically Dutch, they were born and raised in Thailand. Like more than half a good portion of my relatives are born in Thailand. My mom speaks fluent Thai. Thai was her first language, and Dutch, and very much a Thai woman in Caucasian skin. So we're always in Asia during the summers, and went through Hong Kong, and I loved it. And then at some point, my dad bought a copy of Double Impact for me from Del Haze, which is we were living in Belgium at that time when I was really young, like I think 15, and I was like, this place, Hong Kong, looks awesome. Can we, visit Hong Kong sometime? Because we're all in Bangkok. My parents said, yeah, and we went to Hong Kong. And I kind of really liked it, and I started looking at it more and everything else. And then I was like, you know what? I want to try and go to film school in Hong Kong. So for that film festival, the promo video I made, I sent that in to the Hong Kong Film Academy, which doesn't exist anymore, by the way. Sadly, COVID did away with it. But and they accepted me, and I was like, holy shit, I got into film school in Hong Kong. So I go down to film school in Hong Kong, and then turns out Godfrey Ho is one of the lecturers there.
That's wild.
Yeah. And then so basically Godfrey, I knew a little bit about editing because I was doing it on the side when I was just in uni and just in high school and stuff like that for fun. I was shooting short things. And he kind of really like took me under his wing and taught me a lot about I did directing and editing under him and producing as well. So if you want to learn editing from somebody, Godfrey Ho is the man to learn editing from. So he literally was like, okay, here's a trick for this, here's a trick for that, and this is how you can do this and that. And he just showed me stuff, man, I was like, that shouldn't work, but it does. Like all these, it's kind of like when you make music, you can play according to a scale, then you can hit one note outside the scale, and sometimes it just sounds good, And he kind of taught me how all the notes that work outside of the rules and outside of the scale. That's what Godfrey taught me. He's
dude. I think
Godfrey is actually he's a phenomenal filmmaker. Like you've seen Lethal Panther. Like he's a phenomenal filmmaker, and he shoots fast. And like the way he made these movies is like literally you get here. Like he could deal with minimal resources and do tons of stuff. Like it was just crazy. And he taught me like a lot of that. And the craziest thing Godfrey was at my wedding as well. He met my dad like twice before the wedding, because just pure chance. We ended up doing. I was with my dad once, and Godfrey was there. He goes, "Oh, you did? Go, this is my dad. Oh, you guys want to do Yum Cha? Like over there? Like okay." So Godfrey and my dad are the exact same age. It's a really funny thing because my dad worked in for pharmaceutical companies and stuff. And I overheard a conversation between them, like, what were you doing in like 1988? My dad's like, oh, I was working in like for this pharmaceutical company in Japan. And Godfrey's like, oh, cool, I shoot ninja movies in the forest over there. And they're like, oh, that's highly entertaining. It's like totally different, but they got along like a house on fire. And they're hanging out at my wedding and stuff. So yeah. And then later on, when I showed them the movies, it's like,
of Chang-Chi as well when he first started out.
That's true. Yes, yeah. He commonly mentioned him and John Woo at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's
he shows up on Shout Factory just put out their first Shaw Brothers box set.
Yeah.
It's such a weird release, like with no Shaw Brothers branding on it at all, almost, which is really bizarre.
I haven't really worked with Shout Factory, to be honest.
Strange, but one of they put some extra features together for it, and one of them is a really great interview with Godfrey Ho specifically about his time at Shaw Brothers and kind of speaking about how
the thing about Godfrey is he's super articulate. He's a great dude, but he's super articulate, and his memory is phenomenal.
Yeah,
like he's sharp as a whip, man. He remembers like everything, and he's got a good sense of humor. He's got a really dark, fun sense of humor as well, which I guess you don't see in camera. But yeah, he's a really good dude, man. If someone taught me about filmmaking, like, I mean, I've learned stuff over the time by shooting everything else, but if someone was like a real teacher to me, it was Godfrey Ho. And there's a lot more in these releases that people see. That's, a lot of the editing tricks and stuff. And the idea, he was like, yeah, think out of the box when you're editing, So we could have done those location videos, for example. At one point we have like, two things next to each other with frames inside frames and everything. He just said, there are no fucking rules. Just make it look good and give it energy. And then it's great. And I'm like, and I always remember that. And that's an amazing bit of like knowledge to put onto some person, So,
I adore you and Mike's commentaries when it's just the two of them, but I do have to say my favorite all-time commentary that you guys have done, and I'll bring it up, is the one for Lethal Panther when you're joined by
because he just doesn't give a damn. I love it. I go up when I go, I like those shirts. Like, they were just wearing those, and he's a fun guy, man. He's a good dude. Like, he doesn't. There's no pretense to it whatsoever. He just says whatever he wants and all that stuff, and he's fun. So yeah, no. By the way, I got to give a shout out to TVP. They actually were the first company who ever gave us a real shot at making. So Mirko, if you're listening to this,
what was the first one that you did? Was it?
That's a weird question. I'm not sure. It could have been this, to be honest. It wasn't.
Was it SPL?
No. SPL was way later. See, we did like 3 audio commentaries from the get-go, we did a lot. So this was one of the first ones we ever did. This is in the top 5 we ever did, for sure. But we've done so many of them that we were talking about that we're not 100% sure. It could have been. No. You know what? I think it could have been, it actually could have been the one we did with Godfrey. I think that could have been our first audio commentary ever. Now I'm thinking about it. Because we did that, and we did the Eureka. One of the first ones we also did was for Eureka as well, which was a John Woo a Sammo Hung box set. So it has Eastern Condors in it, and some other stuff as well. So
Future and.
Yeah, we did Magnificent Butcher as well. And the third one, I don't think we did the commentary for it. So, but we did all those. Like, it's really weird. It wasn't like there was a slow rise. We just did it. And I think the labels are like, because the thing about us is I do all the engineering for it as well. So basically, I don't think there's much post-processing needed for us. And we always deliver on time. Like, I'm really a fanatic about like delivering on time, I even give multiple mixes of the audio comm so they can pick. Like, do you want it with more compression on it whatsoever? And and that's the thing. So we started off pretty quickly, and we just always did multiple audio commentaries. So but maybe that was, I think that was the first one that we ever did, the one with Godfrey. It could very well be.
I love that. The only thing's a wee bit of a downer about TVP stuff is it's hard to track down, but a small part of me kind of likes that. It's super old school in the fact you've got to work for it a little bit. Like, you've got to earn the right to get that release.
It's a little bit, it's kind of like that little bit treasure finding cult thing, right? So it's fun, and they're good dudes, man, and they deserve more attention as well. So It's and the Mirko, who is one of the guys there, he does a really good job at restoration as well. Like he for Man from Holland, that dude pulled out all the stops. Like if you go back to that, Man from Holland. Well, I was like, well, I'm from Holland, so he's like, yeah, do the call. But like basically for that, I know that he got a negative or a print, and it wasn't complete, and it was very severely damaged. So he got multiple prints, and he cleaned them up like he was possessed, man. He worked so hard to clean up that release and make it look good and get it like, as good as it possibly could be to put it out there. So, because I know a little bit about the tech behind it, and like it literally is like just dot for dot, like so much cleanup. And he literally had to get multiple prints and stick it together. And what a release! That's one of my favorite audio columns we ever did too, because it was really fun.
A really movie too, like such a cool, like low budget exploitation, batshit crazy movie.
Philip Coe at his best, man. Like he's out of control in that movie, and I love it. So it's for anybody, I won't spoil too much, but the scene with the stroller is fucking amazing. So it's like I remember seeing that go, yeah, because I'd seen a lot of these films before, because when we're going to Thailand on vacations and stuff as a kid, they played them on TV. A lot of kung fu films, but somewhere I'd seen Man from Holland before. I couldn't put my finger on it. But it's I love that movie, man. I'm a big fan of that release. So
I'd never seen it until I tracked down their release of it. So I got that and your commentary for it pretty much at the same time, which was quite a treat, because a huge film.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. It's a good one. Like I love the grindhouse aspects. Like I like art house films. I love Wong Kar-wai and everything, but I love grindhouse exploitation stuff, man. It's just the no holds barred like fun. Like yeah, I mean every now and again you get some really bad stuff. You go, I got burnt, but every now and again, and the labels don't really put out the bad stuff, of course, but. What I love it when labels find the really nice stuff and they go, ha ha, and they present the world goes, what the hell is going on? This is amazing. So, yeah. And there's a lot of that in Hong Kong cinema and Japanese cinema and Italian cinema and, and all that stuff. So Australian cinema, exploitation. I love exploitation films. So, yeah, I can go on about that stuff forever. It's great.
Vinegar Syndrome just put out the kind of Aussie zombie, quite low budget kind of zombie film from like maybe 20 years ago, quite recently. It's one of their partner label releases.
What's it called?
Undead.
Okay, you want to hear a story? I'll tell you a freaking story. The first production company I ever did an internship for was called Swish Group Media in Melbourne. And Swish Group Media did a lot of post for that film. So I was in the room when they're doing post-production shots for that movie. So yeah, it's 100% true. I was working Swish Group Media. It's like it must have been like 2003 or 2000. I can't remember the exact time. But when I was doing the uni thing, I went to. So here's a story. So when I was doing, and I've graduated and got my degree, so fuck them. But like I was in uni, and we had to do a work placement for 6 months. So I got a work placement at Swish Group Media, and they were doing stuff down there. And while I was there, I ended up I was supposed to do marketing research and everything else. But while I was there, I ended up working on music videos and stuff on the weekend because I just wanted to learn about filmmaking. And I became friends with all those dudes, man. And eventually got to the point where they were like, I got to go back to the Netherlands and do my coursework and stuff. They're like, well, could you stick around? Like, can you extend this work placement? I was like, well, in theory, I could extend for 6 months. Oh, do that. I go, yeah, but I got to do all this coursework and stuff. They go, we will get someone to fill in the coursework if you can hang around here and just do stuff. I was like, okay, cool, man. And then I'm still in touch with those people. So I ended up doing that. And some other grunt did a lot of my coursework for me. It was pretty funny. So yeah,
a much more effective actual film school was learning on the job than
yeah, no, and that was before I went to Hong Kong and stuff like that. So I learned a lot there. But yeah, for Undead, there was I think the guy who worked on it, maybe he's in the credits, guy named Marcus Smith. I think that's his name. You have to check the credits, but yeah, he did a lot. They worked a lot of the effect shots on him. On Undead. So yeah, that's a true story. There you go. I wish I'd done the audio commentary for that, because then I could have been like, I will be connected to this film in the most abstract way. I haven't heard that name in years. I did not realize they put that out there. So yeah.
I think it's literally Vinegar Syndrome just partnered with Umbrella, so that I think their plan is to only release the Australian films which Umbrella put out, because Umbrella released stuff from all over the place. But Umbrella kind of for the actual Aussie movies that they're putting out. then Vinegar pick them up for the US market. But I think it looks like, I haven't dived into the disc that much, but it looks like it's mostly all the extras from the old DVD that kind of came out probably 20 odd years ago.
It's a pity, man. I could have tracked down a bunch of the people who worked on that. Reach out to me every now and again. We have done audio commentaries for Vinegar Syndrome before. I'd love to do more. I really would have loved to do their Biozombie one, because we've on our own YouTube channel, we have videos walking around there, and that mall is like, not too far for where I'm based. So, but it's a pity we couldn't do that one. But I think just a lot of stuff was going on at the same time. So, but it's really funny to release the Undead. It's bizarre. So there you go.
That's wild. And I think
so then,
very briefly back to Philip Cole. Easiest career. I think it took me years to realize, because I'd seen him in a lot of stuff without realizing I was watching the same guy. Like he
didn't seem to freaking age, did he? Like, no. I mean, it's just like
old. Like he's the kind of the head monk or the head abbot that Gordon Liu fights against towards the tail end of Great Diagram Pole Fighter. I think that's maybe probably my first encounter with him, but with no hair. So seeing he's when he was younger and super ripped, or playing younger, and kind of seeing him in some of the horror stuff was pretty wild.
Yeah, have you seen Seeding of a Ghost and stuff like that? Like, oh, what the hell? That's an audio commentary I want to do, man. Because the last 15 minutes of that, I'm like, dude, I am in. Like, this is mental.
Part John Carpenter's Thing, kind of. It's like
meets Evil Dead and everything else. Like it's really Japanese, that movie, because I think at that point Shaw Brothers were like, let's just do a bunch of stuff, and they went really wild on that one. It's like, whoa. So
for any fans of practical effects, some of the stuff that's going on in that movie, what have they done? And kind of like things used in reverse, and kind of like they're not a huge budget to make enormous amount of creature effects, and they didn't have a kind of a genius a la Rob Bottin and the kind of guys.
Yeah, no. They know. No, Tom Savini's on set, but it looks good. That'd be a really fun grindhouse drive-in movie. That it's like just to go watch it on a big screen in a field or something. Have everybody go ape shit, on Halloween night. That'd be great, man. But I love that movie. I think that's so freaking cool.
Gets all the praise, but I think Seeding of the Ghost is the arguably better movie.
Yeah, and I think so too. I think the structure of Seeding of a Ghost is more fun, and it's a revenge film. It's got a bit of that too in there, so it's a good movie, man. It's a really good movie. I wish, it's kind of a pity that I don't think it'll ever come out, but I've always championed the Troublesome Night films, because those are the most Hong Kong ghost films ever made. And especially the first 6, because Herman Yao directed the first 6. Number 4 is okay, but 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 are just fantastic films. I don't think we'll ever see them come out on Blu-ray. It'd be nice if they did, but
formats, weren't they? They weren't all.
Sorry, what?
Shot on quite weird formats, didn't he? Kind of ended up. Some of them are not shot on 35.
Okay. So 1 to 6 were shot on 35. After that, it gets a bit murky and everything else. Like some of them are shot on some sort of digital format. I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen a bunch of them. But yeah, eventually it gets a little bit murky what format it's on. But there was a point in which Mike and I were actually in talks before COVID about rebooting that whole series. And our idea was to get new Hong Kong filmmakers, like who hadn't really made films before, each do a segment of that, and that way giving new directors a chance. And COVID killed that. But there was a discussion, and there's a full outline I wrote for an entire film for that, and people were looking at it going, maybe this is possible. So, but that's as far as it got. But yeah, it was actually out there, and there were people who were connected to that original thing that we were getting ready to actually speak to and be like, okay. And Mike obviously knows Herman Yao, so, but it unfortunately COVID killed it then.
Maybe it completely killed it, or maybe it could get resurrected, Seeding of a Ghost style, and turn into something.
There's so many things we're involved in, and that's something we would love. Mike and I almost made a zombie film, right? Like we were really close to producing a zombie film in the Philippines. Like a real full-on John Carpenter-esque one, which was a zombie film, but about something else. I can't say too much. And actually was an announcement in Variety for it and everything else, and COVID killed that too. And that was we were so close to going in on that. So yeah, that was really nuts. So, but we had Film Mart recently, and the idea of doing that movie came up again. So
I hope it does.
I really do. Yeah.
Philippines, maybe Taiwan, because seeing some of the stuff that's coming out of Taiwan in the last couple of years, like The Sadness was absolutely insane. I think that kind of came.
Yeah, no, and Thailand. Look, Thailand's doing amazing stuff, man. There's a show out of Thailand called it's about a girl. I can't believe I'm missing this name right now. It's like it's about a girl from nowhere. It's a TV show from Thailand, and it's absolutely fantastic. Like that is
it's slightly different. It's episodic, but it's slightly different setups and scenarios each episode. So same actors.
Yeah, it's like well, the only actor. Well, there's a central actress. I won't try and pronounce her name, Chica, or I won't pronounce her last name, but she is the main character. In every episode, she goes to a different school, and it's kind of like The Outer Limits in that way, which is one of my favorite shows ever, where different things happen, but they're based around a school, and it starts off normal, and then you like figure out something mental's happen, and it just goes ballistic. And that show is one of the best things I've seen in the last few years, man. And that's the kind of stuff Hong Kong should be making. But it's
sure it's certainly on UK Netflix, and whether it's on
Netflix here, yeah. It did very well, and that show did very well in Asia, and it did pretty well internationally. I'm pretty sure at some point they do season 3, like, so that'd be really cool. I hope so. Yeah. But that for me was like one of the coolest things I saw come out in a while. I really enjoyed the hell out of that. So I was like, Mike, you got to look at this, man. Like, he was like, oh, this is good. So yeah, and it was great. It was great. I think he's more into action stuff, and I'm more into horror stuff, even though we both like both. Mm-hmm. But we genuinely liked that show. That was pretty good. Girl from Nowhere. I really liked it. So yeah, and so good fun stuff.
I think, and as much as we spend so much time on our YouTube channels and stuff, and you guys in Commentaries talking about kind of Hong Kong production, and everyone sort of laments the fact that it's maybe not quite the way that it was in the 80s and 90s, but I kind of feel that the torch has been picked up and carried by some of the other countries around East Asia and really running with it. So some of the stuff that's coming from Korea and Japan now is...
Well, that's very good. Well, Japan is a bit different. Japan is in my opinion, Japan's always done its own thing. Like, Japan's very different than the rest of Asia, right? I mean, obviously they've got like it's certain inheritances, like if you look at their kanji system and everything else, but they really, first of all, Japan is hyper creative. Like, I personally think it's, in terms of creativity, it's my favorite like country in terms of their output, right? I mean, look at the things they've done. I was lucky enough to actually, there's a fun story. We're trying to find it right now. I was in a bunch of commercials when I was a child in Japan as well. And we're trying to find the VHS tapes and put them on Instagram and stuff. And I was on a show with a sumo wrestler, and he's like throwing me around a ring, and I'm a toddler and stuff like that. It's all safe, don't worry about it. But all that exists. I was actually talking to my parents about that like 2 days ago, and it was like, oh yeah. Like, that was really fun, because I have dark hair now, but when I was a kid, I had blonde hair, and that was really popular in Japan. So I was in these small commercials and stuff, and they're trying to find the VHS tape. But like, Japan, in terms of creativity, is super awesome, man. But they're very much on their own, and the rest of Asia, yeah, obviously Korea was affected by Hong Kong, because a lot of Hong Kong films were shooting there, right? And Taiwanese films. I mean, the Joseph Koo box set that we did. Like, the one commentary we ever did, we go, oh, I don't know how this one's going to go down, was for The Old Master. And that audio commentary is the one that people come up to us most to go, that is the most hilarious audio commentary, because literally nothing fucking happens in that movie, right? So I'm assuming, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I'm assuming you've heard The Old Master commentary. At one point, we're like, this is a money laundering scam, man. That's it. So it's like, because you're literally just driving around. What?
I don't think you're wrong. I think there's a good chance it probably was.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's a lot of filler in that, but they're just driving around Los Angeles. I know Will likes that film because he's from Los Angeles. He goes, oh, I can see the old Los Angeles. And I totally think that, you know, in terms of historical purposes, that right. I mean, Will's from Los Angeles, so it has a certain, like, you know, resonance with him. But for me and Mike, we're Europeans. Like, we're sitting here and going like, wow, this car ride takes a long time. So I'm gonna go, man, that disco dancing is freaking weird. So, and there's one or two scenes that kind of work, but it's so obviously not like, you know, like our central character. He goes back toward the camera conveniently while he's fighting and everything else. So, but yeah, we get asked about that one a lot. And I don't know if I should say this, but the first, because Hong Kong still has rampant piracy. It's actually gone up by quite a bit in the last few years. And there's a fun story by which I was walking down the street in an area called Shamshi Po, which is Pirate Central. And some guy comes running, goes, you like Hong Kong movies? I go, yeah. And he goes, oh, check out these Blu-rays I have. And he shows me the old master. And I go, hey, hold one second. Can I see that? I go, cool. Stand there. Flip it around. You see that guy's name? Yeah, I pulled my Hong Kong ID card. That's me. And the guy went, oh, shit. yeah, well, he tried. I was like, don't do that. And he's like, oh, let me go get something. He just like disappeared. So it was, but yeah, that is, but yeah, that's one story about the old master. That was weird. So yeah, it was like,
this is a very selfish question, but I'll ask just because we'll be going back quite soon. But how is kind of DVD and Blu-ray hunting in Hong Kong now post-COVID? Because I know quite a few places that I really adored closed down.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna answer this. I'm gonna give you a really cool 2-part answer. First of all, some stuff did shut down, but there's enough places where stuff's still available. And I was talking to CFK Crew, and I actually get asked this a lot on Instagram, and so does Mike Chan, who was being in Hong Kong movies and everything else, that we're thinking about doing a video about where to still get Hong Kong Blu-rays for tourists in Hong Kong. Because we think that's something, I get asked about that a lot, and there are places you can get them. There's like 188 in Wan Chai, which, by the way, I mentioned in the audio commentary for which one was it again? I can't remember which audio commentary. Never mind. One of the audio commentaries I mentioned, there's like a place that has a sign that says no piracy and everything else. And there's a store there that sells tons of Hong Kong Blu-rays. It's 188 in Wan Chai. So in the line of duty 3, I think I mentioned that in that audio commentary. But there's a store there that sells tons of Blu-rays. So Wan Chai is a good place to go. Like Chim Sa Choi. But anyway, we're gonna do a whole video about showing people exactly where to go with Google locations on there as well. So
great idea.
Yeah. So we'll record that next, because we're recording a whole bunch of stuff. We're recording 2 documentaries this month still, and like a bunch of audio comms, and I'm doing stuff with Mix Mag as well. But after that, we'll do that video. So I think we'll put that out around June. So anybody who comes down to Hong Kong will know, this is where I got to go to get the Blu-rays. I
used to love this place. Disc Plus was amazing.
I think that is, that's gone. That place, yeah. A lot of places. That is that the underground place as well. Yeah.
It was one of the places where you could get the last connecting train to the airport. I think there was a big shopping mall that's sponsored by somebody huge. It's not Canon, can't remember. But that centre, but that was a great store that actually had all the UK imports as well. So they kind of had Criterions and
so there's a store in Wan Chai called Rock Gallery. I'm sometimes in there holding like the Blu-rays and stuff like that on my Instagram. That's in Wan Chai. It's called Rock Gallery. And they import a lot of stuff. But there's other stores that import Japanese Blu-rays as well. And sometimes, rarely, but sometimes they have English subtitles on them as well. So, but there's a lot of local Blu-ray stores that have popped up as well, where they sell legal Blu-rays, because I won't tell people where to get the pirated ones. But it's basically like there's a few of those. So I'll literally go there, make a video, and be like, this is where you can get this and everything else. So, but yeah, so don't worry. Anybody who listens to this, we will make a video about it at some point and put it out there for free for everybody watching YouTube, and see where you can get your Blu-rays and stuff in Hong Kong if you come travel.
In Hong Kong's not like hunting for discs in any other city, really. It's like you kind of go into a building that looks completely like it's an office block. And the 25th floor, and weird spaces.
Well, Hong Kong in general, I think if you're not from Hong Kong, you come here, I think it can be really chaotic. When I first moved to Hong Kong, so I was going to film school and doing other stuff on the side, and I kind of made it a mission to go to every single MTR stop any free time I had and just walk around there. And that's kind of how I learned. And I know Hong Kong very well now because I've been here for a long time, but that really helped me get a hold of it. But I remember when I first did that, and I literally went down the MTR, the metro line, the MTR line to the metro line, at every single stop, and I just got out and I just walked around, and I go, okay, this is here, this is there, this is there, this is feeling for different areas. And that's how I figured it out. But yeah, it's quite daunting to come to Hong Kong because this place is kind of chaotic, and there's no formal like architecture codes here either, right? I mean, one building is really nice, one building is really old, one building is like like this and that. So it can get pretty messy when figuring it out. But don't worry. Again, I promise we'll put out a video with Google, links on Google Maps where to get stuff and everything else. So anybody who comes here in the future, by all means, that should help you out quite a bit. So yeah. Well, people ask us all the time, so it's partially to get that to me go, here's a link, go. That's why I have to write all the text. It's also laziness on my part in a way. So yeah, So yeah.
Should love to see. I think the other thing that this literally just popped into my head, and it's not related to anything at all that we've been talking about, but purely out of curiosity, did you see Project Wolf Hunting?
I want to see it. It's like, so basically, as of like the last few months, I've been shooting. Like, here's the weird thing about shooting stuff, and because a lot of stuff I'm shooting I can't talk about right now that's going to come out, and there's some stuff the Bluray labels I do, and I shoot for a lot of people, and basically, the more I shoot, the less time I've time. I haven't seen John Wick 4. I haven't seen like, I didn't see Ant-Man 3, but apparently like people are like, well, if you want to see a car accident, go ahead. But like, I haven't seen tons and tons of movies, and literally because I do something like 21-day stints where I just work every day, like full on, and then I take like sometimes 2 days off and whatever else, and I just work weekends, but I love what I do, so it's not that hard. And I love to shoot, I love to edit, and every time I do something, man, like fun stuff happens and crazy unique stuff happens, and I meet more people, and it makes me want to shoot more. Just what I do. I have no interest in anything else. I don't drive. I have no interest in cars. I have no interest in like nice watch. I've never worn a watch ever, really. I mean, I think at one point I wore a watch when I was 15 for like 2 weeks, and I go, I don't like that, so I stopped doing that. And like, I have no interest in anything except for art and shooting stuff. So it's kind of a function. But because of that obsession, because if I'm not doing filming stuff or editing stuff, I'm doing music, or I'm performing somewhere, or I'm doing one of the other things that you'll see coming out soon in different mediums. And lately, like, that kind of has gotten in the way of watching movies. So at some point, what I'll do is I'll just put on a whole pile of movies, because I have to see them at some point and watch them. Yeah, I regret not seeing John Wick 4, but literally I just haven't had the time. So, and also part of it is like, we do so many audio comms. Sometimes like you're watching movies all day, like, and you're commenting on it. Sometimes when you do something, you just want to go to the beach, like in your time off. And we have great beaches here in Hong Kong, which not everybody realizes. So, I just want to go to the beach and just sit there. And I have a lot of friends. Like, there's a beachside village here called Sheko. There's like, shout out to Sheko Me, which is like a fashion brand from there and everything else. And I just know guys, they want to go down there like, oh, hey, what's going on? They live a life totally different than Hong Kong. You just sit on the beach with them and you just chat about whatever, and like and I love doing that on my time off now. Like, just totally plug out and get away from the medium. So yeah, that's kind of it. That's also where I hurt my arm, shoulder skateboarding. I don't know if you ever saw those photos for a while.
And it healed up because you broke it, didn't you?
Yeah. No, it's all good now. Yeah, but I was in that parking lot at 5 a.m. in a tiger suit skateboarding on Halloween. So that's how I ended up doing that damage. But that was in that area. But it's cool fun. So yeah, in my time off, I kind of do that. And so we kind of plug out and I do that. But yeah, no, I really want to see John Wick 4, and I really want to see some other movies. So
I think Garden feels like, from what we've been talking about just now, Project Wolf Hunting feels like a movie that's so up your street.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I totally know about it. It's just like, it seems like a good take on the werewolf film and the monster film and everything else. And, it's good old Korean. That's good. I like Korean cinema can get really, really fucking awesome sometimes. Yeah. And that's a good example of it. My favorite Korean film is Attack the Gas Station. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I love that. I've been recommending that because sometimes we recommend stuff to labels, and I've been recommending a bunch of labels. You guys should put this movie out, man, because it is freaking awesome. Like, Attack the Gas Station is so much fun. I think British audiences would like it, or American audiences would like it. So, that's really one I would love to see come out.
I think we've got Cine Asia over here, and I'm sure that Cine Asia, I'm convinced that Mike knows, because I think he did a little bit for their Raging Fire release. I think he's in the booklet for it. But I really wish they would basically get you guys in for commentaries.
I would love to too. Yeah,
they've been putting out some pretty big new Korean movies. Like, they put out the Killer quite recently. Movie, which is great and kind of really good fun, and would have been even more special in audio commentary. And Mike, part of how I first heard Mike was doing commentaries for Korean movies back in the day, like Volcano High, which has the actor from Killer. And so it'd be kind of great to kind of see Cine Asia basically starting to get commentary tracks done too. Though you guys don't have a huge amount of time free, I'm guessing, but it would be we're very good at
I think we've gotten pretty good because we did 3 audio commentaries last week, and
Wow.
like we're gotten pretty good at like scheduling stuff and organizing stuff, and almost by the hour sometimes, because we like to research these films and just call people up and everything else. So it's but we've gotten pretty good at that. So if any other labels wants us to do stuff, by all means. What I really love doing is like the like the docus and stuff like that. So hopefully we're going to be doing more and more of that as well.
I'm glad to hear that you've got more in the can than we've seen.
Yes, absolutely. There's way more in the can, and also for there's some labels. I wish I could say something now, but I can't. But there's some labels that we're working with that no one knows about, and we've done quite a few for one of them. So it's I'm very excited for them. I'm excited for those to come out. Like it's always fun when people enjoy them, they find out something new and cool. And there's so much that people like. Because for example, we did the interview with the Taoist priest who advised, was part of the people who advised Mr. Vampire. That's something I don't think anybody knew about. So it's like, and I love doing that because that really pulls like, what was going on behind the scenes, and because how the hell did they come up with the rules for Mr. Vampire, and all that stuff. Like,
this is like stick this in the background while we're talking.
Oh yeah. So the question about Mr. Vampire is like, how the heck did they come up with those rules and everything else? So it's quite cool.
That kind of vampires can only find you if you speak, and there's a couple of weird ones. I can't remember.
The thing about the Mr. Vampire films is those rules kind of change as well. So, and something we point out in the audio commentary for Mr. Vampire 3 is that, for example, bats in mainland China, we're not Hong Kong, we're talking mainland China. So, traditional Chinese beliefs, bats are omens of good. And they're not negative in any way. But in Mr. Vampire 3, clearly there's a scene in which you see the vampires are evil and bad. And the reason for that is this was a British colony. So they that by osmosis, they took that in there and they added it to. And Sammo Hung obviously is a mental film buff. So he was watching all like the British films and
Hammer horror.
Hammer horror stuff. And also obviously he was watching Japanese, so there's a lot of Japanese influences, films and everything else. So it's yeah, I know. So we talk about that. I'm really happy with the work we did on that box set. Like, we had tons of fun doing the audio commentaries. We had tons of fun doing the docus. So it's kind of akin to the police story release we did, because we did audio commentaries for that, and I did docus for them as well. And so I love that format of doing things, because you can, talk about it, but also visually show something. And we made sure a lot of the stuff that's in the docu part is not covered in our audio commentary, and that is something completely unique and different. And in some ways, my big hope is that people can, through one of the docus, that people can look into Hong Kong society, modern day, and also from the past, and learn a bit like what this city is like. Because I get the idea from talking to people that, well, you've been here, but a lot of people have this image of Hong Kong in their head, which isn't totally negative, but it's almost like the vaporwave genre of music. Like, they're nostalgic for a place that exists in the movies, but it doesn't really exist. And there's this. That's the movie version of Hong Kong. It's not the real Hong Kong. But I like to show people the side of Hong Kong that is freaking cool, that people don't know about pop culture-wise and culture-wise and everything else. And that was my ultimate goal with the Mr. Vampire documentaries when we did those. So they're not out yet, but I hope when they come out, people will enjoy it for that reason. Because, and for that, those docus were also quite complicated, because if you really look at the Mr. Vampire films, everybody who was involved with those films is either unreachable or not around. And the sad thing about that is, and Mike was a lot closer to them. I never met Richard. I know Carl Richard's son and stuff like that, but a little bit. But played pool together and stuff. But it's we wanted to interview Richard, and it was going back and forth. And he was like, I just can't. I'm too sick. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a bit of a bummer. But it was clear that he's quite ill, and it kind of came in weird, because not weird, but like I was like, oh man, I felt more from Mike, because Mike really knew him. That after these Blu-rays got announced, like, Richard passed away. Yeah. So, and it was kind of a situation that could have been his last interview. And we've had situations like that before. We shot someone's last interview, and that's always a bit of a, of a thing, like, oh my God, I just shot their last interview. Like, it's, in one way it's nice that hopefully you can preserve the footage and give it to the family and stuff. But yeah, I know it's one of those things. But yeah, no, I felt Mike was really, you can talk to him more about that. But yeah, that was one of those things that were at least like, holy hell, we're like, Richard passed away, and like, and he seemed like a really good dude, and everybody I knew, one of our people in our CFK crew, like our little production company, is a guy named Joe Ferrello, and he acted in a scene with Richard as well, like in a movie as well and stuff like that. So he knew him as well, and everybody I knew all said great things about him. But yeah, it's really weird that he passed away right after that Blu-ray came out, because in the audio commentary we're like, oh yeah, he's not doing so well right now and everything else. So it's kind of interesting how that dates as well. So yeah. The dark side, not the dark side, but like
he got sick. He was still kind of working. I mean, it's a few years ago now, but he kind of came back to the Mr. Vampire world with rigor mortis, and that's
he did, yeah. But that was like still a few years ago. Like I think the last few years, like almost, yeah. But I would have loved to have met him, but unfortunately, it was not to be. So, but with right reason, because he was quite ill. So yeah, it was one of those things. But anyway, but yeah, I'm really excited for that release. I hope people like it.
I think they will. I think certainly if anybody's seen the first movie, they'll absolutely adore. Because and I think at this point, I think Eureka's slowly been helping to educate people in that side of Hong Kong cinema, the kind of comedy.
They're doing a good job with their choices. They're doing a really good job at that. Because we're getting in an interesting period now with these films. Before, like the Jackie Chan films, for example. It's amazing those are out and stuff, but people seeing the Jackie Chan films and the Bruce Lee films, we're starting to get into areas right now where it's like, okay, we're starting to get like, a little deeper in there. And and which is kind of what Man from Holland is. We're starting to get interesting. And I really hope someone releases Beast Cops, because that's one of my favorite Hong Kong films of all time. And I was actually watching the film when I got the phone call from like the Hong Kong Film Academy going, oh, you're accepted. I was like, Jesus shit. I guess I'm moving to Hong Kong now. So yeah. That was a thing, but yeah, I hope someone puts out Beast Cops, because there's so much.
That'd be a great one to do a location kind of tour for, because some of the locations in that movie.
There's a free video on our YouTube page that kind of goes to one of the locations for that. And Jude Poyer reached out to us, and he was like, "Holy hell! Like I know the great work on this, and we've done a small thing with him that we're working on putting out as well. So that'll be really cool. So
it's weird, I think, because Beast Cops is same director of Fist of Legend as Gordon Chan.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Beast Cops came out in 1998, the same year as Biozombie and stuff, which in my opinion is like 1998 is like the cutoff of that era, more or less. And we had stuff come out after that, but that's for the golden age of Hong Kong cinema. That's kind of when it kind of cut off. In my opinion, was 1998, because so much good stuff came out in 98, but all those films didn't make any money as well. So Beast Cops did not do well. Partially because of
so much stuff just shot guerrilla style around the city,
but it's a good movie about living in Hong Kong. It really is. That movie is about, for a large part, is about living in Hong Kong and also in that era. So yeah, I really hope someone puts that out and they get me and Mike to do the audio comms on that, and I could shoot some major special features of that. But again, but I do know for a fact that film has not been scanned yet and telescene yet, so they have to get the negatives and scan them before they become available. So eventually, when that happens, hopefully someone will pick that up. So it's not the
Gordon Chan's work in general has kind of been a bit overlooked, because we haven't seen that come out, and we haven't seen a decent version of Fist of Legend coming out really. Yeah, not an easy.
Yeah, he. I don't know why that is. I don't know. I have no idea why that is. It's just one of those. Every now and again, something just falls through the cracks, and he's one of those directors that kind of like fell through the cracks. So it's one of those things, but eventually we'll get to it, though. Maybe because he wasn't as big as Sam-O and Jackie and all that. Well, even though he did work with those guys. So it's a strange thing. I don't know. Maybe it's maybe because the film's more Hong Kong and more quirky. So yeah, it's one of those things. But that's a big one. I hope that someone does one day. So I definitely hope we get to do more Japanese films as well, because I'm loving and the Sabu films and everything else are fantastic. So those ever come out. So yeah.
And I know that you're a massive fan of Takeshi Miike.
Takashi Miike, Sabu, Takashi Kitano, all those guys, man, they're absolutely fantastic. So
I just saw Punk Samurai for the first time, which I think is can't remember the director's name of, but that was a pretty wild ride. That's a third window release.
It's really interesting with Japanese cinema, I think, because their society is so a lot of their entertainment has these really cool like moments, outlet moments, so you can get these crazy wild films of just with bizarre plots in them and fun twists and turns and everything else. I love Japanese cinema for that. It's so fun. And there's always like, they're always willing to there's a lot of fun experimentation in their stuff, but I really wish, so I talked to Toei about this because I was like, man, I'd love to see more of the V Cinema stuff come out. And because they did some crazy Yakuza films back in the day, like really batshit stuff. Takashi Miike was kind of a product of the V cinema, like, genre as well. And I asked Toei about it, like, can we get like prints of this stuff? And they go, a lot of that show on Digibeta Cam and everything else. So I was like, damn it. So they're going to go, I asked someone down there to go through all their stuff and find out what was shot on film and Digibeta Cam, because they shot some stuff on film in the V cinema era, but not much. But yeah, there's some great Yakuza films out there and horror films. And there's a movie out there, I can't remember, the name escapes me right now, but it's about a female tennis player who gets, I think it's called Lady RoboCop. It's about a female tennis player who gets attacked by terrorists in a futuristic Japan, and basically they bring her back as RoboCop, and she gets revenge on all the terrorists. Like those kind of movies. I asked Toei about that one. They're trying to track it down, but it's just like the stuff that like they did in Japan, like especially in that era. I love hyper creative stuff like that. Like it's so cool, and some of it's shot really well. Like so yeah, stuff that's shot on film looks really great. So I hope we see more of that in the future. That's why I'm hoping, like, eventually more stuff like that happens.
Arrow's starting to do a little bit more with kind of, they've traditionally kind of periodically they'll visit some of the really big kind of heavy hitting stuff, like they kind of put out the Battles Without Honor box set, and
I have that one. Yeah.
And I think they've started going back. They did start to get into Sonny Chiba stuff. So I think they've put out like 5 Sonny Chiba movies.
Street Fighter, Sister of the Street Fighter, and everything. Those movies are great.
The 2 Executioner movies, which are very good fun as well. They're kind of really.
The Executioner films are wild. I love that stuff, and they were doing that in like the 70s and everything else. If you like the stuff they were doing, like the hardcore violence, the over top anime, like cartoony shit. I love that stuff, man. So. It's
fan of anime as well, anime itself.
Oh, I can talk about anime for hours. I am. So because I was a toddler in Japan, so I watched anime growing up. I watched a show called Changeman that later became Power Rangers as well. So all that stuff I saw before the kids saw, but anime, man, I could talk about anime for ages. Like I love 80s and 90s anime. Like I have anime on Laserdisc, even like Cyber City 808, Cyber City 808. I love that stuff. Obviously, I love Ghost in the Shell. And Akira is my favorite film of all time. Katsuo Tomo, 1988. Like I love that stuff. Wicked City, I love. Yoshikawa. Yeah, Yoshikawa Kawajiri, right? You could see Ninja Scroll. He also did Cyber City 080808. He did Demon City Shinjuku. He did all that stuff. I love that stuff, man. That neo-noir, ultra-violent anime stuff. Like, sign me right up. I know there's been a pushback against some of that, but forget it, man. That's my favorite stuff ever.
Still classic. But I think they're still making good stuff now. I mean, I'm a wee bit less into. I think Netflix is a dangerous thing for when it gets involved. Because they start steering away things from the way they should be. But the series that have managed to keep themselves separate from that, like Jujutsu Kaisen, recently has been really good. It's going to be really good fun.
There's a show. They did a show called Megalo Box, which was really good because it brought back the hand-drawn style, which I'm a fan of because I love hand-drawn animation. And I know the thing that's so awesome about the Japanese government is they've actually invested a couple $1 billion back into the anime industry. And they're bringing back like old school techniques, like hand-drawn techniques and everything else. It'll still be somewhat computer assisted. I mean, there's even computer graphics in like Akira, and the first film to ever have computer graphics in it was Golgo 13, which is really great. We did the audio. We did the audio commentary for the Eureka release of Golgo 13, by the way.
Really? I had to check that because before I knew we were going to speak, I kind of double checked the release information about that.
So what happened is that case, we did it at the last minute because I was like, holy shit, I'm a huge fan of that film. Like, oh, you are? I was like, can we do an audio? And they're like, yeah, sure. So
that's a scoop. It's on the website. Can give them a nudge and tell them to add that up because I don't think.
I think Terracotta has because we post on our Instagram as well. I think Terracotta's added it already as well on their website as well.
I really hope they do the kind of the next live action in the installment as well.
Operation Kowloon. Yeah, I'm hoping. Yeah. So I don't know anything about that myself, but that would be a fun location video. But it's like Golgo 13. We did the audio commentary for that, and that film, man, that audio commentary had such a blast because I could talk about because the fact of the matter is Mike and I are huge. We're kind of nerds when it comes to all this pop culture stuff, and I'm a big Golgo 13 fan. Like I've read a bunch of the comics. It was around when I was around in Japan, so long as running anime ever. or manga ever, I should say, longest running manga ever. And then it only stopped briefly for COVID, but all these things I discussed on the Blu-ray because I was like, holy shit, I get to talk about manga and anime and all that stuff. So it's anime I could talk about for ages, but I specifically love like horror anime, cyberpunk anime. Like I love the lighting, I love the looks, I love the hand-drawn style. Like you come up with that stuff with me, man, and like I can just go on for ages. It's a pity no one does audio commentaries for anime because
there's a couple of dudes, but not so much now. It's more DVD era that like Jonathan Clements.
Yeah.
Used to do loads of stuff for Manga UK, so I think he did Vampire Hunter D, and he did.
Which the first one or Bloodlust?
First one.
Oh, yeah.
And he did Golgo 13, The Professional, kind of like the sort of feature length OVA.
Okay, so that OVA was the first one to ever have computer graphics in it for an anime film.
Opening titles, right?
Yeah, the helicopter scene and everything else. Yeah. So
I think he's done a commentary for that, and his commentaries are pretty good. He's done a wee bit of stuff for Arrow recently.
Yeah.
On the Shawscope box set, and I think he's maybe did one of the Street Fighter movies for their Street Fighter set. But
I had to check out those commentaries. I wasn't aware anybody did them, but yeah, it'd be so fun.
I think I might maybe have, if I've got MP3s, I'll send you the MP3s.
Oh, cool! Yeah. Do send them because I can sync them up easily here. Because I've got all those films lying around, and I'm just such a huge anime head, and it's such a part of my childhood growing up. Like I was watching that stuff on screen. The weirdest thing is recently I've been thinking about my wife and I have been thinking about taking up Japanese again. And because when I was watching Golgo 13, like it's in Japanese, the subtitles, but I can literally, because I spoke Japanese or quite bits of Japanese when I was a child. So, but I lost it all. But then when I watched Golgo 13 again, I was like, why the hell do I know what he's talking about in this scene? I don't speak Japanese. Oh, wait a minute. Words. It's in there, right? It's in there. So I'm highly contemplating about, picking up taking Japanese classes and doing that again. So and because it's this very weird vague dream of a language for me. So what I did was I downloaded one of those apps where they have the phrases and it mentioned the phrase and I knew what the phrase was before I did the English translation there. I'm like, how do I know this? I thought I'd forgotten everything, but lo and behold, I remembered it like a weird fever dream. So I wouldn't have a conversation now, but it's bizarre how much I was picking up from it still. So yeah,
there's a great app called Duolingo that's totally free, and that's a pretty good, it nudges you every day to kind of basically do it.
I got one. I'm trying to find the one that I got right here. It's here somewhere.
I've been trying to do it with Mandarin. It's really hard to find one for Cantonese, but I've been learning Mandarin last couple of years.
The one I have does it for Cantonese as well, but Cantonese is a very difficult language to learn because the problem with Cantonese is, aside from the fact that it's tonal, it's called U-Talk is the one that I use.
Okay.
And it does Cantonese as well. But the problem with the Cantonese part on that is, because we went through it for a laugh, is it does. Here's the problem: it does translate correctly, but no one talks like that because it's all slang here. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much slang in Cantonese that, because when I heard that, I go, that's wrong. It's this and that. No. And my wife was, no, that's correct. It's just you talk like everybody. That's how everybody here talks. But the actual correct way is saying that. I'm like, are you serious? She goes, yeah. I go, oh. So, and the fact of the matter is, if you leave Hong Kong, if you speak fluent Cantonese in Hong Kong for 20 years, you come back, it's going to take you a while to get back into the groove because there is so much slang in this language. You have no idea. So it's constantly evolving. The way they talk is very like, there's no connection to English whatsoever either. There's none. Also, the way the slang works, there's none. The way they use like certain words, there's associated words, things, no connection to English. There's nothing to work off here. If I were to learn Spanish or something, I think it'd be okay because I lived in Belgium, French, and all that, but none. There's no connection to it. So it's very, very difficult. Yeah. And
like you say, the tone's so important, and there's so many tones.
Nine 9 tones. Good luck. Ma and ma. Those are two different words right there. One's horse, one's mother. Yes. So and you cannot, and there's no form of like, if you get it slightly wrong, they're not going to be like, oh, I think he means that. No, because it's just the way that they think and the way that that works in their head. There's no way they can like go, well, I don't think he means horse. I think he means mother. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So English is really useful because even if you speak broken English, you kind of know what they're saying anyway. but there's zero room for error in Cantonese, and that's why it's so damn hard. So yeah, it's
Japanese not a walk in the park either, though. Japanese are also
but grammar's hard, but again, I remembered bits of it when I was a child, so that kind of helps apparently. And as I was studying a little bit, it's coming back bizarrely quickly. So, but it's at least it's not tonal. You know what I'm saying? After Cantonese, man, like it's got a hard grammar. Oh, boo-hoo! Like tonal is just like it's hard. It's hard. So
long ago that my wife's brain is operating on a level that I cannot.
For tones,
close to. I think she can jump between Cantonese to Mandarin to English.
Yeah, sure, yeah. It's a lot of information in there.
Yeah,
my wife as well. Like
it's crazy. It's
yeah.
I basically feel like a Neanderthal by comparison. I barely speak English, just about. And because kind of growing up, I grew up in the northeast of Scotland, and Doric's still a big thing up there. So like traditional Scots language that's unintelligible for pretty much anyone. Even like south of Scotland, people struggle with north. East Scotland, because it's like two different languages in itself.
Sure. Yeah. So
language thing.
Dialects and all that stuff. Yeah, no, it's a complicated thing, but again, about Japanese cinema and stuff like that, I would love to pick up Japanese again just to get into it more again. But yeah, that was a very bizarre thing when doing that review. I was like, and also Party 7, I was like, what the heck? What it's like did I know what he said there? Like that's really weird because obviously we get subtitles with them, or we get the English dub when we do those at our screeners. But that was an interesting experience. So that's something doing Blu-rays will maybe get me to pick up Japanese again.
I hope so. And I think another label, if they end up stumbling across this, that I would love to see you guys connect with, is a great label out of Glasgow called All the Anime, or Anime. I think they call themselves Anime Limited, but they're the main Blu-ray distributor of the UK now for pretty much most of the newer series. They do some older stuff, like they did but most of the newer releases that are kind of coming out are all coming out through them, and they're doing some cinema releases and stuff as well. So
cool, yeah.
I'm pretty heavily into it and doing a really good job. But one of the things their releases don't have, sadly, is commentary tracks. And
I know a lot about the 80s and the 90s stuff. The newer stuff, no. I mean, I try and keep up with it. Like Backstreet Girls, I saw, which was absolutely hilarious. I don't know I know what the plot of that is. I don't know if you. This is the kind of thing, like, so it's about a group of there's a movie as well. It's a gang of like yakuza, and they mess up, and their mental boss forces them all to go to Thailand to get a sex change and come back as a girl group. Whoever made that show is either like who. How do you even pitch? Like, that is genius. That I laughed. I was rolling on the floor laughing, like, especially because it just doesn't give a damn. Like, I thought that was amazing. I laughed so hard watching that show. I thought it was great.
The title, but I think that I have seen it. I think that's maybe up on Netflix for people.
Yeah, it was on Netflix. It was on Netflix for a while. Yeah, I think they're doing some distribution for it, like abroad. But that was absolutely hilarious. Yeah, but like the older stuff, like. I really, really, really enjoyed the 80s and 90s. I watched so much of it. Like, it was, it was good fun. Like, it just reminded me of like when I was a kid as well, like little in Japan watching the stuff. So,
and it's good fun time. Its own thing. And there's a kind of really nice crossover with the director who did Evangelion's kind of brought them back.
Oh, yeah.
And now turning his attention to kind of all these amazing other franchises. So he did Shin Godzilla and Shin Ultraman. I think
Shin Godzilla was that's a movie. I liked Shin Godzilla. I mean, really I love Godzilla films. Like Giant Monsters All Out Attack, I think, is my favorite one. And I've got the original Godzilla film as well. But I love Godzilla. Like, they're not all good. Like, some of them are kind of like hokey. But I like around the 2000s era ones. Those are quite good. And like, but. I love Godzilla films, man. Like, it must be a lot of work making those films, but I love the tolerance to go, okay, we know that it's a dude in a rubber suit, or that like, it's like kind of model effects, but I love that charm of it. It's so cool. I think it's super, super fun. And it's like, it's just, it's really cool. I wish Hong Kong did more of that. I mean, obviously they did some of it with like Mighty Peking Man and everything else, but yeah, but it'd be fun to see more of that happen. You know what I'm saying? So it's It's good fun. I know they made films in Taiwan like that as well, but I haven't seen many of those. So
I think there's somebody else, and there is somebody diving into some of that stuff. I don't know if they're getting to those movies just yet, but Error 4444.
Oh yeah, I know Error 444.
They're bringing out a couple of quite crazy Taiwanese, monster movies, more supernatural wuxia.
Those are really good dudes. Those guys, like I like them. They're nice,
possibly young. Like when I think Ryan at Disconnected did an interview with those guys, and it was like, they're like 20 years old or 22 years old or something. They're babies, and it's impressive that they're.
Yeah, but you know what? They sure is hell of a head on their shoulders. So
yeah.
Like those guys, man. Like we did something with them, and like those guys are turned on. They know what they're doing.
Oh God, yeah.
And it's I've come across people in numerous parts of the industry. I wish there more people were like that. Let me just put it that way, because whatever, like they have a drive. They're super like precise. They're always on time with everything. Like they're good. They're good people. Yeah. So they've understood it. They've gone, okay, let's find some grindy house stuff. So yeah, full support to those guys. They're good.
Yeah, I think they've carved out a niche for themselves really well. Where they're doing stuff that can appeal to fans of the other big labels, but it's not the same type of flavor. Like the stuff they're putting out, it's got a little bit more of a sort of twisted sensibility to it.
Yeah.
It's close, actually, weirdly, to some of the Third Window stuff, and I know that they've got a few different things like Funky Forest.
There's a connection between Third Window and Error 444 for sure. But yeah, there's definitely a vibe, an understanding between those two people. That's what I got from the interaction with them. So yeah. For sure, they're good. They're good. I like them.
We've got some great movies coming out. I think that their release slate for the next 3 or 4 movies they have coming out are all absolute bangers. They're all kind of classics.
They do have some very good movies coming out. Yeah. So they've got.
Is that Challenge of the Lady Ninja?
Yeah. They've got Run and Kill coming out as well, and they've got that coming. Fatal Terminator. They got that coming out as well. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. They have that coming out as well. So. Those releases I'm looking forward to. Yeah, they'll be good.
It's a wonderful time to be a collector. I kind of feel that we're being really spoiled, though you sometimes wouldn't know it to look at the comment sections because people are very quick to bitch and moan. But I think for those of us that survived through the last 20 years of this drought of really nothing coming out, I think it's a magical time just now.
Look, the fact that these companies, I don't think I really want to. One documentary I really want to do. I gotta see who's interested in it. But I've been speaking to lots of people literally doing the upscaling and the transferring and the scanning in of like of all the 35mm prints. Be the negatives or whatever else. I kind of want to do a video about those guys. And I spoke to them, and I just got to find out whoever's interested in it, showing how much work that takes. Yeah, because I don't sometimes think people realize how complicated this is. Because it's one thing to get the print, but then, first of all, getting the print is hard, especially in Hong Kong because humidity is like grinding everything to hell. But by the way, some company like the Godfrey and Joseph Lai at like IFD, they kept their stuff in immaculate condition. So heads up, because they were like, we know we're doing this one day, but like you're doing cinema release, but one day there's gonna be video and then there's gonna be another format. Those guys had big foresight. That was really impressive, by the way. But anyway, the amount of work it takes. So we kind of mentioned the Mirko to find the prints. Sometimes the print's damaged. You got to get another scene in there. You got to scan it all, and you got to make sure the scanning is right. Sometimes you got to cook the film as well. There's so much work that goes into that. And if people realized the Everest level size work that goes into putting these movies out, I think most people, if the work was in front of them, a lot of people would be like, I don't know. They panic. They don't know where to begin. Mm-hmm. And there's very professional people in Hong Kong working on this. Like a friend of ours called Beatty does the stuff. His company is really good, but it's a lot of work. And when people moan about stuff about like this and this and that, I go, dude,
you have no idea. Yeah,
you have no idea. You have no idea the amount of work. So I really want to do a movie for that, a little video about that, and put out on one of the Blu-rays, because to show people like this is what it takes to get this in front of you, man.
I think I've got a few years on you, but I'm curious when you were going through and studying, when you kind of went to film school in Hong Kong, had it made the switch to digital at that point, or were you still?
Yes, the switch. So I was around when they're still shooting on film, like in Australia. But by the time we got to Hong Kong, they were introducing. Well, we're talking around 2006.
Okay, yeah, it's not too much time. Yeah.
No, so I think they were starting to introduce like the digital thing was coming in there, but the red wasn't around yet. And when the red happened, that's when. Yeah, that was and don't forget when things like the 550D and the 5D Mark II started happening and everything else, because those were, HD sensor cameras in which you could DSLR cameras in which you could change the lenses. That was revolutionary. So, and I have a very clear memory of. Here's another story. When I was in Australia working for Swish Group, and where they did like the poster Undead, I have a very clear memory of somebody going, "Oh, they're going to start introducing HD TVs." And because they had them there in the studio, but that was like studio shit. They go, no, they can put it in everybody's home. And a guy called James Gardner, who's really fucking on top of the industry and really technical, he's a YouTube channel, turns around and goes, oh, but that'll change the whole industry. Like that's revolutionary. That's crazy. And I at the time when I heard that, I didn't quite know what it meant, but he was totally right, because the implementation of HD TVs in people's houses, like that is, and that, because that meant sensors came and everything else, like, the industry was changed by that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people can now get a hold of cameras and can now view their stuff at premium resolutions at home when editing and everything else. Because before, one of my jobs I had when I was still an intern at these kind of companies was when you went to the movie theaters, they have like all the previews that you see on the screens and stuff like that. I had to cut that, but I had to do it on a roll and rocker on a Betacam. So you literally roll as a hardware machine to go through it and snap it and find the edit point and write it down and go, and like eventually you could cut it on the computer, but you have to write down all the edit points and everything else. The whole digital workflow wasn't even there yet. So it was like we had to literally cut tape. It was insane the way they did it. And write down time codes and stuff. Like I did all that stuff back in the day. So
when I was at film school, we literally learned to edit on a Steam Deck. So all
So
now everything I do for YouTube, I do on a phone. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I mean, I still think there's something to like Reds and stuff. I love the sensors and what they can do, but I'm really always interested in the differences between like say black and white on any sensor that you put in front of me. That's something I'm obsessed with. Like if you go from because that's light to dark and what's in the gray space, and that's all your colors and everything else that you're dealing with. So that's I'm obsessed with things like that. So when we're about to do the movie in the Philippines, like there's a real discussion on which cameras we're going to use and everything else. And it's in a film art recently, I met a few directors and we just go into that nerd talk right away. And it's what's the sensor range, and we're at night, and what for shooting in Asia and everything else, and what's the flavor you get off of that, and every camera is a different flavor and stuff like that. Like every musical instrument is a different flavor. So it's I love that stuff, man. But but going back to it, I'd love to show like people like what it takes to get Blu-rays in front of them and how much work these labels put into it, because I think that'd be incredible. But I don't know if people are interested in that. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. That's the thing.
Some, and I think sometimes it can be turned into there's a way to do it, to turn it into sort of a special feature. Like I think Vinegar Syndrome did that great release of New York Ninja, and that
was good. Yeah, that was really cool. That was a unique release.
So much work to kind of really make that into the form that it ended up taking. So I think none of the footage had any sound and had never really been assembled into any sort of cohesive feature length form.
And they got all the old school dubbing guys to come back in, which is really cool. And I think Cynthia Rothrock did a voice for that as well, if I'm not mistaken.
So I think it might be Don Dragon Wilson, I think, is maybe doing the other one.
Yeah, so the fact that they did that project is, I like one-off projects like that. There are all these insulated little, boxes that exist, because it's so unusual for a label to do that. But it was super cool that they did that. So I think
we're about to see another big one, like Arrow's Bruce Lee box set. When it comes out in July, they've managed to kind of unearth a whole bunch of extra footage from Game of Death, but no sound.
So I know the guy who found that footage. So the guy who I was talking about, who I want to interview, he's the one who found it.
Cool.
So it's that'd be something to talk about as well. But it literally wasn't like they literally like, oh, here's a box full of like, they literally were like, oh, here's all this footage. They were like, what? Like it just was there. Like when people find footage like that, it's not unless some cave where there's cobwebs and some old Indiana Jones like locker. It's literally like, oh, here's a bunch of stuff and here you go. So it's really weird how that happens. People just go, oh yeah, that's over there. Usually people know about it, but they just don't think anybody cares, which is really weird if you think about it. So, and me and Mike Leeder have always been trying to find that missing, because we talk about it a bit on the Mr. Vampire Blu-ray. There is an English speaking Mr. Vampire film they tried to shoot in Hong Kong.
Apparently so. Yeah, it was shot at the same time as
the. Yeah. Well, and the question is how much of it was shot. No one seems to give us a clear answer, but we know the footage exists. But to ever get a hold of that is the big question, because I think the people who have that footage are like, no, we're not going to put that out there. Because the reason it never came out is because it's really bad.
So it was a slightly different cast as well. So they're basically filming this.
Oh, it's completely different cast. So you literally have your shot, and you just do the English scene with the English, the Chinese scene, the Cantonese scene with the Cantonese cast. Move them out of the way. Let you go. Okay, your turn, and you go in there, and then that's how it went. But eventually, I think after so many days, like this isn't working. Like because they were losing money on it, and I don't think the raw footage looked as good and everything else. Like it's weird. But that being said, though, it can be done, because when they shot Dracula with Bela Lugosi, there's a Mexican Dracula film as well out there, which is done the same way. It's better than the Bela Lugosi version. You know why? Because the Mexican crew was going, that's what they did. We can do it better if we do this and that. So they're using the rushes from the Bela Lugosi version, and the Mexican version's out there. It's definitely out there. You can find it. And if you look at the Mexican version, it goes, oh, that's much better, because they've adjusted the lighting a little bit like that, because they literally got previs, technically speaking, by watching the rushes of the previous film. So, and they go, oh, we can fix that there. We can change the set a little bit there. So, yeah, it's really interesting. It'd be fun to host a movie night showing those two back to back and go, oh my God, they've really they've really changed these two movies. So, quite interesting. So yeah,
that happens to documentaries, because you and Mike, I'm sure I've heard you mention a different documentary you guys were working on, or had been working on for a couple of years.
Neon Grindhouse, correct. The history of Grindhouse cinema in Hong Kong. Yeah, we worked on that for years, and we've shot a lot of footage for that, and I've edited a huge part of it. But the thing is, we were getting really close. We were on a good steamroll, but again, everything came down to COVID, because there were so many Hong Kong actors who were in mainland China or abroad, and no one could get into Hong Kong for 3 years. Like, getting in and out of Hong Kong was near impossible. So I didn't leave Hong Kong for 3 years, because getting back in here was like a 3-week quarantine.
Yeah, which you I'm not doing for.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Forget it. Like, first of all, you can't put me in a hotel room for 3 weeks, because after 1 week, I'm destroying that place. Second, I'm too hyperactive to put in a hotel room. Me? You nuts? And then, like, I know me. That would not be a good idea. I spent 24 hours on myself. I don't think that's nice. And second of all, I don't have the temperament for that. And second of all, like, yeah, it's so that kind of halted. But we work on it for years. We have a lot of great interviews with that. So I want a chunk of it is already edited. And it looks really cool, because it's the same crew who did the Jackie Chan video game thing and everything else. Matt Blaze, it's the same crew who make that documentary, and it's feature length, and it's shown. Yeah, and it's and Mike Leeder is involved as a producer on that as well. And it's basically like, yeah, it looks it's shot with a higher budget and everything as well, and it's like, I love to finish that one day, and we're talking about like finishing that off at some point. But right now we have so much other work coming at us. Like, we have so many things going on right now. It's always like, and we finish them off always, but there's stuff coming in, so it's like, but it's just the way that works. But slowly but surely we're adding interviews to that and everything else. So it's pretty cool. But I look forward to finishing that, because it really goes to the underbelly of like Hong Kong cinema. So you want to learn more about the kind of films like Man from Holland or Troublesome Night, or all those unknown films that people have not really seen. There's a lot of that stuff in there. And we did things like scan in posters at 8K resolution. We got lobby cards, we got photos from sets and everything else, all animated and everything else. And so I really look forward to putting that out one day, but it'll be a little bit, because we've got a lot of other projects going on at the same time.
Yeah, you're a man of many hats. You really are. You're kind of doing an awful lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's but again, it's that's just my nature. I don't care about anything else, really. I care, I'm my social, my wife, my friends, and everything else, which are important to me. And I've got my work, and that's kind of what I really love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. I love every minute of it. And every single audio commentary we've done, I have a copy on my shelf, not there, but I've, out there. and like this like huge shelf, just got everything I did on it, and like it's like, yeah, I did that shit like right there, you know. So it's kind of cool when people come over. They go, "What's all this?" I go, "Oh, I worked on all those." They go, "What, this?" I'm like, "There's like 100 movies out there." I go, "Yeah, that's so it's pretty cool."
I think I've done one commentary.
Oh, cool.
And that, so I did one. I have a Patreon page. I did one commentary and stuck up there, which I did with my wife for Clan of the White Lotus.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Really good fun and blast. But I spent probably about 3 months doing research and stuff and going through the movie so many times. And I think the idea of doing 3 in a week is, because that's another thing that I don't think people appreciate how much work goes into. It's a lot.
A lot goes into it. It's also like the further back you go, the harder it is in more modern times, because sometimes you can just call someone up and go, you're like, "Hey man, like tell me about the set," you know, and then stuff like that. But like, for example, the Mr. Vampire documentary thing that we did, like finding the people that we did for that was a fucking everybody in that movie. Like Richard was really ill. Samuel's not available because, well, Samuel doesn't do stuff like that. Like obviously Lam Ching is no longer around. The producers of the film had passed away. Like, and you went down the list, and like, you know, it becomes a very short list. Like at the end of the weekend. So how do you take care of this? Well, we found some people who advised the movie, and then we found people that were influenced by the movie. And in Hong Kong, like, you know, everything from fashion companies to like everything else, they're influenced by those films and made. So we found things like that, and then that's kind of how we tackled that. But yeah, for finding facts, like that, it took effort for those, but we're happy what we got a hold of. So it's
one of the things I appreciate. You can absolutely tell going through your commentaries, you guys are never blowing smoke. Like in terms of the facts that you're giving, you know, you're basically getting accurate information.
We're very conscious of that. We never want to put anything out there that's like. I hope we haven't made any mistakes. Maybe we have, but if we ever did, it was like purely because someone else probably gave us some false information, but we really like double and triple check like a lot of stuff that we do. So it's we make sure that it's right and everything else. So it's it's one of those things. Like we really want to do an audio commentary with Jean-Claude Van Damme at some point. Like we've discussed, because we know him, and it's like, and I think it'd be hilarious. I really want to get him on my radio show at one point too. So it's but yeah, doing that would be fun. For example, we want to do more audio commentaries with people with us, you know, in the booth, and and I think we're going to start doing more of that too, because that's a lot of fun, just going back and forth. And because sometimes, you know, again, the directors, I think, or the star of the film are always going to have like the great stories. And if you talk to them the right way, you can get something out of them that, like, you know, it's just amazing. So yeah, no, that's something we really want to do in the future as well. But yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, no, we put a lot of effort into making sure that the facts that we have are true, and a lot of stuff that you find online is not accurate at all.
No. If your only sources, if the only thing you're going by is Wikipedia and the Hong Kong movie database, you're getting a lot of incorrect information, sadly.
There's like random stuff. I can't remember what movie it was. It said that like every now and again on Hong Kong movie database, like it says that certain actors have been dead for like 3 years, had made a movie in like 2000, or been 30 years, made a movie in 2018 or something like that. You're like, he's been dead for like a long time, man. There's no way he made that movie. So like, yeah, there's a lot of inaccuracies on the internet, mistakes on the internet, and thankfully we have resources where we can call someone up and go, "Hey, what happened there?" But sometimes you find stuff on the net, you go, "That can't be true," and they call you, "But it's true." You're like, "Oh shit, I guess it is true." So it's one big one that we always like to claim, that a lot of people claim that Godfrey Ho directed Robo Vampire, and he did not direct that movie. So we got him on camera saying, "I did not direct Robo Vampire at all," and everybody keeps asking about that. So, and there's a huge like argument online we saw on Reddit somewhere. We don't really follow the Reddits or the social media too much about our stuff, but
I don't really understand how Reddit works, particularly myself. I
don't either. We have I have a Google alert thing that goes off, and then some people are like, no, but like Robo Vampire, like Godfrey Ho totally made that. He made this then and there, and I know someone who worked on it, And we're like, no, but here's a video Arne and Mike made of Godfrey saying that he didn't make it. And they go, and they're like, oh, the Arne and Mike work with Godfrey to kind of dispel that. And we're like, what are you on? Like, what effort would Godfrey surely would admit it? A, and B, what crazy conspiracy is that? Like that I'm trying to debunk a movie that was made like about 40 years ago, like in some office in Hong Kong. Like, well, what are you on about? Like, it's so bizarre. So yeah, it's the stuff people come up with is pretty fun. But anyway, we like doing it as well. That's the main thing. I think you can't do it this much if you don't like doing it.
No.
You know? And I like doing music for it as well and stuff like that. That's a lot of fun too. So it's always kind of fun to bust out the keyboards and the samplers and the drum machines and do some records. Do some behind the scenes.
You mentioned the radio show in passing too, and we should absolutely give that a shout out too. And I'll make sure I pop a link down.
Oh yeah, the CFK show on FM Belowground, and we got some good. Cool. We had Philip on there and stuff like that, and we get like. If you want to follow not only Hong Kong film, because we get some movie people, we have some more movie people coming on. Mm-hmm. We're like a list we're going down basically. If you want to learn more about Hong Kong pop culture, like listen to that. And we also every episode basically I banter with my co-host Johnny. Sometimes my co-host is CC as well, but usually it's Johnny Brown. And we basically then have an entertainment guest on, and then we have a music guest on. And every record we play, more or less every record we play on the show is pre-vinyl release and everything else. So it's all exclusive stuff because I have some connections to the music industry. Some
amazing music. Particularly if you're a fan of like EDM music, you're kind of fan of electronic music and drum and bass. There's some
jungle, drum and bass, and we got interviews of like a lot of the jungle guys in like the UK and everything else. So the music comes from all over the world, but the guests are usually based in Hong Kong. So we had Ricky Baker on as well when he was in Hong Kong. That was really fun.
Eastern Hero.
He told some great stories, man, about Quentin Tarantino and everything else. That was a really fun episode. Philip was great because he's like Philip he's such a cool dude, and eventually in that one we just start talking about like Nintendo Switch games and everything else because we kind of like the fact that like you can ask about the movies, but what I'm always curious, like what do these guys do in their downtime? I know Wong Jing's a massive gamer, for example. Like he's super into video games. If I ever got him on the show, I'd be like, what games are you playing? What games do you like playing? How do they like? Because all that stuff. So I'm interested in those aspects of when they come on the show. And the music we play, jungle, acid house. And we found like glitch, like IDM from India, for example. We had we played that on one show. Guy from Calcutta sent us some stuff. We got like funk music from psychedelic electronic funk music from Iran in there, who, by the way, Tame Werewolf, shout out to him because he gave us some pointers about the Iranian actors who were in. So talk about research. Tame Werewolf is from Iran. Really nice guy. Great, fantastic musician. Like, and it's really smooth, like, electronic funk music. And when we did the Eureka audio commentary for Go-Go 13, I actually got in touch with them and goes, because there's all Iranian actors in that movie. The film takes place in Iran. I go, hey, I've got some research about these actors. Can you tell me about these people? And he came up with a whole bunch of information. He was like, this is the biggest actor at the time. This is the biggest villain in that cinema thing. This is everything else. Like, so that's kind of how we did our research for that, because all those actors he can't get a hold of. But then, and he asked some other people as well. Then basically just got the feedback, like got some feedback from some of the Iranian, well, mainly through him, but like, I'm sure he asked some other people as well. And we started looking up stuff, and but that's how we got like a lot of information for that film. We just asked people, but through the CFK show, which is the radio show, we had connections again, like in Iran, and we know people in Calcutta now, and in Japan, and the Netherlands. We have people on from, and it's really great playing a lot of cool records as well that people have never heard of before. And then we bring people on, we chat, and the show's really laid back, So I mean, the last episode I talked about how my Instagram profile got hacked, and then I got it back. So that was nice. But it was that's really, the radio show's a lot of fun to do. So we got some skateboarders coming on soon as well, like one of the best skateboarders in Hong Kong, and who has a fashion brand here, and he's also an actor as well. And then we've got all that stuff happening pretty soon. So I'm pretty looking forward to like keeping that show going, because it's really fun to do, and it's at a proper radio station in one of the most expensive malls in Hong Kong as well. So we have our radio show with these huge speakers. You see the photos, and next to us is like Louis Vuitton and Chanel and everything else in this mall. And these speakers are blasting us out, talking about like the most insane stuff ever. We had the wrestlers in there on the first episode, and they're just like, we want to beat up the whole of Hong Kong. And people walking by, they're going, what the hell is happening in here? So we got some more wrestlers coming in and stuff like that. So we just get the most fun guests that we can. So
it's weekly, isn't it? Show every week.
Every other week. But we made, because we were voted the week on stats. We were the 10th most listened show on most listened to show on Mixcloud for interviews and stuff like that. So and then we're like, maybe we should increase the amount of times we do this, because we're doing it every other week, and we're number 10 on the most listened to interview shows on like Mixcloud. And obviously Mixcloud is where it's archived. The actual show goes out live in Hong Kong. But it's fun doing a live show too. So, and we're an English speaking live show in Hong Kong. So it's cool. And I think some of the people come on there like that because they can speak English, and express themselves in certain ways, which is really fun. So, but yeah, no, it was cool because that week, for example, we did 3 audio commentaries, and I went on the radio show. So I just talking all week long and just doing that. So
was your voice gone by the end of the week?
No. I try to have a barbecue at the end of the week and like in the beach as well and stuff like that. Unfortunately, it rained out, but I'm sure I'll be talking a lot to everybody as well. I like to talk; it's fun. So it's a good thing to do, man. And I'm lucky that I get to do it. I mean, if you would have told me years ago, oh yeah, people would pay you to fucking talk on Blu-rays and things about things you love and do a radio show and everything else, that's mad. Like, that's so cool. So I consider myself very fortunate.
A wiser man than us said, you pick a job you love, you never work a day in your life. And it's
maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. I mean, I do get tired sometimes, but you know what? It's not a bad gig, man. It's not a bad gig, or multiple gigs, I should say.
If you can fill more days than not with things that you enjoy doing, I kind of think that's a win.
Yeah, no, it's really good fun to do. So, and I hope to do it for many, many, many more years. So.
I hope you do too. I will leave links down to all these things underneath when this kind of goes up onto YouTube. I'll make stick a link to your YouTube page. So I know you're doing a bit less stuff for the YouTube side of things and a bit more for going on disc. As far as we basically from more of a physical release, but you know what? As I said before, we want to maybe do a few more things on the YouTube page. We were doing these videos for a while. We just walked around Hong Kong and just talked. I love
those. So we want to start those up again because people have been asking us about those, and they're kind of fun to do. And
I'm looking at very crazy, bizarre vending machines that are dotted around the city that do different, strange, weird and wonderful things.
Yeah. The funnest one we did for that is we were walking in something. You have different levels of rain, and we were walking in, and there's like there's amber rain, yellow rain, everything else. You have black rain, and black rain, is like the sky is falling on your head. Like the raindrops are huge and everything else. And then we had tons of wind, and we did a live broadcast on that, walking from I think Yamate in Tim Sachoy to like Mongkok, which is like quite a walk. Like that's like, I think it's a 20,000 step walk or something. We did it in that weather, and it's totally mad. And looking back at it, we're like, that is kind of nuts. But we love doing, and we just chat with people while we do it. They can ask us any questions, or you want to ask us about Blu-rays or about Hong Kong. And that one is like, you want us to go left or right? And we're in the rain. Everybody goes, go right. And we go, okay, we'll just go right. And we'll walk to the right. And I love that kind of audience interaction. So it's sorry, what?
A great location visit with Mike as well. You get Mike walking around Hong Kong with you too.
Oh, we did one like that. Yeah, we did one that was kind of fun. We walked around Hong Kong with that. That was really hot that day too. We're absolutely boiling that day. So as the summer comes, and then I usually do with Chris Giblin, who was the guy who was behind the camera when we did the police story location video. So he was the guy who was walking with me on most of them. He's the one who shot that who's behind the camera for that one. So he's from England. He's from Manchester originally. So, but he grew up in Hong Kong. Sorry, what?
But he's in Hong Kong full time.
Yeah, he was. He grew up here, but his parents were from Manchester. So I think he moved here when he was 2, and he's been a Hong Konger ever since. But he was just like. So we're gonna start those up again as well, and we do again the videos about where you can buy Blu-rays and maybe some other cool videos, like just so if people come to Hong Kong, they know where to get stuff. There's tons of cool vinyl toy stores here, and there's there's stuff like that that's really cool. So maybe we'll do some of those at some point as well. Just make it quick and easy, and just have something up there so people can go, okay, if I go there, where do I hang out? What are the districts to go to, and like what are the fun things to do, and make people aware of stuff out, because Hong Kong is not all concrete and glass too. There's beaches people can go to and that are really fun and really groovy, and yeah, all that stuff is fun. So, and creativity is getting better in Hong Kong now, because there's also there's these guys called Good Kid Bad Student who we're remembering on the show, and basically what they're doing is they're going to the outdoor markets in an area called Yamate, which is by the fruit market, and that is like in Knockoff. They run around the fruit market with Van Damme movie Knockoff. They run around that fruit market. It's in Yamate. It's like a really local area, and these guys have these old stands where they usually sell goods on or whatever else, and they put speakers there, and they do jungle nights down there in the streets of Hong Kong. It's like these street parties that they do, and and everybody apparently they can do that, and people hang around there and they're wearing crazy fashion. They do it every Thursday night, and I've played live there once before as well. Just dragged some equipment, did quick live set down there, and half hour live, and people come down and just DJ jungle or acid house and the kind of stuff we're all playing on our radio. So that's the kind of creative stuff that's going on in Hong Kong. So going back to earlier, I think Hong Kong cinema, there's a new generation coming that are quite creative. So I think there's some hope there. But yeah, in terms of creativity in art and music and stuff, things in Hong Kong are getting pretty interesting again now. Yeah. It's like a new wave happening.
I'd love to put my vote in for a video about some of Hong Kong street art as well, because there's some amazing graffiti, and we both
we did a video on our site with a guy named Lesion, who did the huge Street Fighter murals everywhere else. It's on our website. But yeah, there's street art areas. We interviewed a girl recently who did some street art stuff, so we're thinking about doing a video about street art in general as well.
That'd be cool. Because I'm a massive fan of Futura 2000.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. He did the cover for DJ Shadow. It was
Radio Clash at one point. I think he did covers. Well, a huge amount of stuff from Mo Wax. So yeah, you're right. He
Mo Wax. Yeah. I'm trying to think who he did it for. I can't. Yeah, but Futura is it's great stuff.
And he did
Uncle. That's who he did the clash, because DJ Shadow's part of Uncle. Yeah. There it is. That. So he did it for Uncle. Yeah.
He was. I think last time he was in Hong Kong, he tagged his name around about half dozen places. So we tried to find them all when I was in Hong Kong last. I think we found 2 of them. His signature's kind of still there. His signature is pretty much his trademark.
So there's an artist in Hong Kong right now. He's like the Banksy of Hong Kong, named Observer. Mm-hmm. And Observer, no one knows what he looks like and everything else, but his artwork is everywhere, and it says things like "One day my sex tape will matter." He just writes it on the wall on these things, and he also writes "Shark skin makes your penis small" and all these crazy little statements. He has them all over, and everybody's trying to figure out who he is. He had an art show, and it did really well. And he wasn't. No one knows who he is. So my goal is to do something with him at some point as well. We've kind of been talking, but it's but that's the kind of stuff that's happening now. There's literally a Banksy of Hong Kong named Observer.
That's right.
His artwork is really cool. And then there's Lesion. We did an interview with him, but I'd love to get him on there because I'll get him on my radio show because he's such a character. He also produces kaiju films and stuff like that in Japan. Ooh. So he's a really good guy. We had him on our CFK channel, and there's just stuff happening in Hong Kong now that's good. But the street art scene's really getting interesting right now.
Yeah. So I've kind of moved towards, because one of the things that the Netherlands is amazing about, kind of close to Amsterdam, is a really wonderful museum of street art in one of the old.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. I know a bunch of the guys who show stuff down there as well. So it's really cool. I used to do fashion back in the day. So when I first got to Hong Kong, I did a lot of fashion and merchandising and everything else. And there's a company called Ico we worked with. It was an Italian company, but they're based in Amsterdam, and they also did actually did work for Nokia and everything else back in the day. And and they came to Hong Kong, and they just they were doing stuff here and everything else, and it was so cool. But all those guys who did a lot of fashion stuff back in there, I'm familiar with them because when they were bringing their fashion over to Hong Kong, we were hanging out and doing stuff down here, and it was so cool. But yeah, that's really cool what they're doing in Amsterdam. I really like that idea. It's really awesome. And Hong Kong's getting stronger and stronger with designer toys again as well, because that industry was going down. Yeah. But we cover a little bit of that on the Mr. Vampire Blu-ray. I'm not going to say what it is, because but we talk a little bit about that and how Mr. Vampire heavily influenced the designer toy industry, which a lot of people don't know about.
Jump into that side.
Yeah. So we have a little bit of that on the documentary. So again, how those films influence pop culture. So it's I don't know. I love street art, and designer toys and all that stuff. And in the scene here, it's really good being part of that. But yeah, no, but it's good stuff's happening again in Hong Kong. So I think eventually we'll see more creative films coming out of it as well. Going back to movies, of course.
We've brought it full circle, and I think, my friend, we've almost gone for another full hour. So I'm gonna.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Almost midnight for you there.
Yeah, no, I think it's almost. It is almost midnight. So I think it maybe. Yeah, I think 2 hours is good. But it's been fun.
Great, but if anytime you want to come back, my door is absolutely always open.
Sure. Yeah.
Again, because we didn't even get to synthesizers and TV303s and all that sort of good stuff.
ESQ1. If anybody's wondering, okay, I'll go real quickly. If anybody's wondering how I'm making the tracks on the Blu-rays, so all the background music you hear on the Mr. Vampire stuff, any upcoming Blu-rays I'm doing, or that stuff, the Yes Madam Blu-rays we did, like the location video for that Destroyer Wars. Mm-hmm. The synthesizer I used was an ESQ1. I used a Juno 106. I used an X-Bass 09 drum machine, and what else I used? And a Digitact. And then Ableton Live was the main just sent out clock, and I record everything in there. So that's your answer for how I made those records, if anybody's ever wondering about that. And an SH101 occasionally I used as well. So there you go.
Classic 101.
Yeah. So there you go. If anybody's ever wondering about that, that's how I make those records. So it's all hardware, guys. It's all a lot of analog synthesizers, the John Carpenter way.
Yeah, that's where all the fun is, I think. Absolutely. I can see at some point we'll maybe do a separate little chat that's just about that, because I would love to talk samplers with you. I suspect for an audience that's just me and you, where there's probably not that many other people who are out there.
Well, in the CFK crew, 3 of us make music as well. So it's we're big music heads down here. So yeah. Right. So the one other thing I'd say people should check out is CFK Radio, which we do, which we get people from all over it's on our YouTube channel. We get artists from all over the world to send us music, and then we get I think about 300 entries or something for the last one. And we're doing part 3 now, but we did part 1 and 2, and we pick 9 or 10 songs that we like, and we make music videos for every single track that we pick. And then it becomes an audiovisual mixtape. And in between that, we have 2 cyberpunk hosts, and then CC Zhang as well, with doing some voiceover stuff. Mm-hmm. And basically make a show out of it. It's audiovisual mixtape. It's on our website, and we have jungle, acid house, underground stuff. And a lot of the music you hear on the radio, we made music videos for all those people doing that. And some people are in the UK, like Dirty Bassett and everything else, and Amiga Jungleism. And some people are in the Netherlands, and some people are in Japan and everything else. So there you go. If anybody wants to check out something that I would like for more people to check out, because we had a lot of fun doing that, it's CFK Radio. That's not our radio show. That's our music video show. We had the music video show before we had the radio show, so we kind of got stuck in the confusion. So there you go. That's the last thing I'll add to that.
Links for that down below as well. You kind of keep switch links and send people to the right place so they can kind of check that out.
I will definitely do that, yeah, because we're really happy with the ways those turned out. So, and that really shows. And they're all shot in Hong Kong, and they're for the love of Hong Kong, so you can see a lot of Hong Kong through a cyberpunk, dark cyberpunk lens, kind of. So there you go, and a very trippy mixtape. So yeah, there you go.
Cool. All right, man. I'm gonna click the end record button, but you stay for 2 seconds.
I'll do.
So everybody, thank you for joining us. And we will see you on the next one.
High five.